thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about complex jobs, how you need to set those up in Flyerlink and also set them up on your artwork. We're going to be talking about some various things like trimming, adding numbering, drilling, and just some added finishing options that you can do to jobs basically other than what's offered. So 2 documents that I would recommend you print out today would be Designing for Production and also the Flyerlink User Guide. So the User Guide for Flyerlink will tell you how to indicate things in Flyerlink, and then Designing for Production will tell you how to make sure that you're setting up jobs in your artwork correctly. So you can find both of those on the home page in Flyerlink under Useful Articles. So the first thing I want to talk about would be additional trimming. So I have a job pulled up here in Flyerlink, and let's just suppose that this person came in and they wanted a square business card. That's not a size that we actually produce, but we can still get it done. You just have to think about, a piece of paper is a piece of paper. So we have various products that are called, brochure, postcard, whatever it may be, but it's really just a piece of paper at the end of the day. So if someone comes in and they need something that's a particular size, we can still produce that. You can just add extra cuts to it. So that's what I've done in this case. I've got this set up as a 4x4 business card. And let's take a look at this piece, and let's take a look at the artwork. I'm going to open up business card. So here I have the business card set up. Here's the square card, and I would want to make sure there's a waist area, and that's just going to indicate to the trimmer that waist area would be trimmed off. And they're going to come in a 1/16 inch from this line and trim in. So you would want to make a 0.25 line and set that to overprint. Make sure it's black. And then they will trim in a 1/16 towards your artwork. So we also trim out a 1/16 on all sides from the press sheet. So just keep in mind that we're going to trim a 1/16 here, 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 and here. And then he's going to come in and make one more cut right here. So make sure you leave that extra space for your artwork there. All right, so I'm going to look at the back. And this is how the back would be set up. So this is sort of a mirror image of the front, and this is one thing I always tell people to be careful of when you're dealing with extra trimming, is that you need to make sure you mirror the image on the back. So it's going to be the opposite of the way the front was, because we actually take the top edges of the front and the back of the paper, we back those up together, and that's how we print everything. We back everything up the same here in production. So if you have anything that has extra trimming, you're adding a crease, it's folding, I highly recommend that you print it out and you mock it up and go ahead and fold it and make sure that piece is going to be produced properly. We see people put things upside down and backwards, so it's one of the more common mistakes that can be made. So just make sure you're setting that up properly and you're mocking up your piece before it goes to print. Okay, so I've indicated on my artwork the extra cut, but I want to go ahead and indicate that in Flyerlink as well. So I'm going to click on Finishing, and you would want to add an extra cut. I've already done this, but I'm just going to show you what that looks like under Finishing. Under the Product Option category, we've got Cutting, and then you've got your various cuts here. Since I've already added one cut, it's no longer available on my list. So I've added the cut. You would click Continue, and then just confirm that it was on all 1,000 pieces. Now, additional trimming does add cost to the job. So here's the cost, and then your cost is half of what the selling price is. So it does take a little extra time for these various things, so there are extra costs associated with that. So you just want to make sure your customer is aware. And also be aware that on certain finishing, it may take an extra day. So especially what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes when it comes to drilling and numbering, there may be added days that are added to that because it has to have one more stop here at the production facility. So Flyerlink will calculate that for you. As you can see, the shipping date wasn't effective for the cutting because that doesn't add extra time. But if it did add any extra time, you would see that time change. So just keep that in mind. If you've got a 2-day product, it might turn into a 3-day product if you need to add additional finishing. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is talk about a case where we have multiple parts trimming out. So again, you know, if you've got a larger piece of paper and you want to put a job 2 up or 3 up, or a lot of our partners have the ability to go ahead and trim things at their shop. So they might actually gang things up themselves and choose to have that shipped to them and trim it out. Or again, we can trim those items out for you. So I'm going to take a look at another job. This is a case where I put some gift tags 2 up on a rack card. So I measured them out, figured out that these could fit on a rack card and I could have them produced together. So I've got them here in Flyerlink, and let's take a look at these as a PDF. So I've got them stacked on top of each other. Again, I've got my waist area set up. I've got my 0.25 line here, and I've also got a 0.25 line here so that they can be trimmed out from each other. So again, cutter is going to trim this out of the press sheet, and then he's going to come in at 16th, and he's going to trim these out here, and then he's going to come in at 16th on each side to trim here and here. And in the case of something like that, it's actually going to be called a double cut. So we've got a single cut and a double cut that we need to add to this artwork in Flyerlink. So let's go ahead and go back to Flyerlink. And I've already added these things in here for us, but let's go ahead and take a look. So finishing. Go ahead and take this cut off. I already had added in here, and I'll show you what it looks like when we go ahead and add it ourselves. Okay, so let's add a finishing, and we'll add a cut. 1 cut. Continue. Go ahead and confirm. And then we want to add the next finishing option. So go ahead and add another one. Do cutting, and 1 double cut. So the double cut is going to cost a little more than the single cut. So again, we can go back to our job summary and see where that took. So $12 added for the single cut and $22 for the double cut. So again, people get creative with this kind of stuff. So sometimes you can choose to gang things up and it'll end up making it cheaper, even with the added cuts, but it's something that you just have to, you know, decide for yourself and see if it works, but it's available. The other thing you'd want to do is you see it's got a multiple part job here. That's just a little note that you'd want to make to production to let them know once that job is trimmed out that it does have multiple parts to it that they need to ship together. So go ahead and let's minus this one off, and I'll show you where we need to add that in. So go under shipping, and you've got multiple part job here. You go ahead and click that and click continue. And again, it's just letting us know we've got 2 parts to that job, and once we trim it out, those need to ship together. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is drilling. So we can add drill holes for you. I'm going to go ahead and pull up those gift tags, but let's just suppose that this time I want to add a drill hole. Let me open up one with the drill hole. Okay, so I've got this job set up the same way. But all you would need to do is go ahead and add a crosshair to it, and then we'll indicate in Flyerlink that we want a drill hole. There's several different sizes available, which we'll take a look at, but you always want to make sure that you're at least 0.26 from any edge, and that just makes sure that we have enough paper once it's punched to go ahead and hold that piece together. So in this case, I've put it 0.26 from the top, and then I've got it 1.58 from the left. So in addition to showing it on the artwork with the crosshair, you'd want to pick the drill hole the size that you want in Flyerlink, and then also indicate where we are going to, you know, punch that out of. So let's go ahead, go back into finishing. I'm going to go ahead and take this one off, and we'll go ahead and add it back on. Let's go add finishing, and we'll go to drilling. And as you can see, we have lots of different options for the different size drill holes. So let's just say we're doing the 1/8" hole here. Click continue. Yes, we want it on all 500 pieces. And then you can also make notes. So once you've added in a finishing note, you can make additional notes to production There are certain things, procedures, where you would want to make sure you're adding additional notes, just giving us further direction on that fold. So basically, I want to say 0.26 from the top and 1.58 from the left of the card. Okay. Save notes, and that way there's no questions. So we can see it on the artwork, but there's also clear direction in Flyerlink so that we don't have to stop production and ask questions about that job. Okay, so let's talk about a few other finishing options that are available that you might have seen in the list. There are certain other cases where if it's a booklet, you need to indicate booklet making. You've got gluing options, additional gluing options. Folding options, generally if you're ordering anything that has a fold to it, you will always be prompted by Flyerlink to pick the fold of that product prior to ordering. So you'll pick the product, and then it will ask you what type of fold that you want. So generally you won't have to add any folding. But if you do, just keep in mind we can only fold the 120-pound and the 100-pound. The 140-pound cover is very thick, so you can add a crease if you wish. So you'll also see an option here for adding a crease or a perforation. So just keep in mind, it's just too thick, it would crack. So adding a crease is an option for you on the 140-pound. We also used to have an option for round cornering and die cutting, but at this time we are not offering die cut products. We do offer 3 rounded business cards. I'll go ahead and show you where those are in Flyerlink. So let's go to Docs and Images and take a look at the product Bible. So let's go to business cards and look for the punched business cards. So in my last little list here, I'm going to see we've got punched on all the different paper stocks available. So the sizes or the round corners that we have available are an 1/8 inch rounded corners. You can do a 1/4 inch. And we also have a narrow rectangle available. So it's 3.5 by 1.5, and that has a 1/4 inch rounded corner to it. So do make sure if you're ordering those products that you are using our templates. They have a very specific template that they use. Make sure you're downloading the template generator. You can find that under Docs and Images under the search here, and it'll come up right in the list. So make sure that you have the template generator for InDesign for those products so that you're making sure that you're using the product for the punched business cards. Okay, so that pretty much covers complex jobs. Again, if you have any questions about anything that you want to do special, just make sure you get with us. We'll be happy to help you here to make sure that it gets put in there correctly. All right, thanks for tuning in.